r/AskReddit People that work on movie sets. What are the most entitled actors you have ever met? Worked as a security supervisor in a big LA movie theater and would sometimes escort an actor into a theater through a back door at the top so they could see the audience react to their latest movie. The only time I was annoyed was when I took Nick Cage and some producers into a couple of shows. In half an hour, Cage never spoke to me or made eye contact. If he wanted to leave or enter a movie, he'd speak to one of the suit guys who'd speak to me. So frickin' rude. One of my best friends worked at some publicist/PR office and she said Chad Michael Murray used to come in and just be generally uncool and sort of rude. Acted like he owned the place. My brother also lives in CA and has had lots of celebrity encounters including Nicole Richie, Jeff Goldblum, Dave Franco, James Franco, Rob Schneider, Sharon Stone, Adam Sandler, and Jim Carrey. All of them have been cool. Have a friend who's worked with Steven Soderbergh many times. Says he's a very chill dude who is a big fan of taking the crew out for drinks and meals. He is known to tip wait staff 50%. He also is big on pay equity among the crew, often giving up a lot of his own salary to make sure crew gets paid very well. I already liked his movies, but hearing this right from the horse's mouth made me an even bigger fan. Henry Winkler, the Fonz, was quite standoffish and a little rude. However, his wife was amazing and loves doing crosswords with you. You just have to read them to her if she forgets her glasses. Mason Ramsey, not an actor I know, was surprisingly a normal kid and very down to earth. I played basketball with him backstage for a couple hours before one of his shows and he gave me a huge hug when he had to go and asked when we could play basketball again. I'm sure this isn't super shocking, but Shia LaBeouf is a huge dum-dum. When he was filming the first Transformers, a friend of mine worked in a yogurt shop in downtown Chicago. There was a huge line, but Shia and some girl he was with cut right to the front. My friend prepped his order, gave it to him and he responded, "Do I really have to pay for this?" When she said yeah, he threw the money at her and walked off. In the early 2000s I was a bartender in Memphis at Isaac Hayes' restaurant. He did the whole no eye contact thing. All the employees got anxious when he was coming in, not because he was famous or anything but because he was so standoffish and particular about how everything should be. Ludacris will always be on my shat list for not tipping on a $3,000 table. We also did Erykah Badu's baby shower. She was sweet and tipped well. Not an actor but a director, David Fincher. He is a pain to work with and he is beyond eccentric. Did some work as an audio production assistant, for a while. If anyone wore anything red on his set they were fired on the spot. I work in the music industry now, and one of the best people to work with is Garth Brooks. He's very laid back and incredibly humble. Treats everyone from the top down with the utmost respect. I went to school with a guy who wound up co-starring in a feature film. I saw him in the bar one night. He walked up to this table of women and said, "So, who wants my autograph?" He even had a pen. The women had no idea who he was because the movie he'd been in was some short-run B-movie nobody had even heard of. Insecure people who gain any sort of fame and recognition are the most cringy of all. At a video game company I worked at back in the early/mid 2000s, before a meeting to go over some potential deals, Tom Cruise's handler people told us to set up this big spread of treats, food, and several different kids of water in blue bottles only, back when this was a thing. When Mr. Cruise came to the office he was super polite, friendly, creative, intelligent. I was expecting strangeness and absurdity. We were all pleasantly surprised. Not entitled, but I was an extra on God's Not Dead. The classroom scene was sweltering because of all the lights. Me and some other friends were pretty miserable, and all of a sudden we hear, "Wow, it's hot back here," and turn around to see Kevin Sorbo. He ended up talking with us for about 15 to 20 minutes before he had to get back to work. Super chill dude who seemed very much like a normal person. 10/10 would chill with Hercules again. I met Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom at a Pirates premiere. I'm a nobody and Johnny Depp treated me as such. Didn't talk to a single person and had security around him the whole time. Not the best impression. But Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley were really kind. Orlando Bloom even took my phone from me to get that perfect selfie angle, his words. I didn't even ask for a picture, haha, so kind. Many years ago I went on a surf trip to Kerry, Ireland. The weather turned shade, so I was out trying to catch waves in victory at sea conditions that first day along with just a couple others in the lineup. Turned out Woody Harrelson was one of them. We ended up hanging for many pints at the pub that week. His stories and self-deprecating wit often had everyone listening in tears. He seemed a real good dude. I was about 21 and taking the subway at Grand Central, the 4/5, and on the platform waiting as well was Jerry O'Connell. I said, "Are you Jerry O'Connell?" Witty, right, and he actually was really nice and made small talk with me. I was wearing an LA Kings t-shirt and he asked if I was from LA. I was not from LA, and I was very starstruck. He was extremely tall and wearing a gray suit. Nice guy. Friend of mine worked on the most recent Pirates film. Apparently you'd get everything ready every day, then just sit around and see if Johnny Depp decides to show up. He often didn't. Oh, and that time he went in character to the Queensland Children's Hospital, formerly Lady Salento Children's Hospital? Not prearranged. He just showed up and an entire hospital had to adjust their day so to work around him. The thing I learned from this thread is that I am quite right to never give a damn about actors or band members. I like the work but I don't care about their person. And that I am not suited to work in this industry because I won't take shat from anyone. The moment some entitled shathead tells me that I am not allowed to look them in the eyes, initiating intense eye contact would be the first thing to do. Back in the early 2000s, I was invited backstage by a not quite famous female rapper in a show with a number of artists. Jessica Simpson was the headliner. She required approval of each and every guest who got to go backstage, and refused to allow me back, despite being personally invited by another artist performing in the show. In response, the other artist came out and hung out with me, another with a few other members of a non-headlining band. Faye Dunaway, and I cannot stress this enough. Faye Dunaway. I've had dealings with her personally and can vouch for her entitledness and nastiness, but my friend who works on movie sets has horror stories. Extremely demanding, and also picky. She brings her scales with her everywhere and will make anyone catering weigh it up in front of her. She has a no eye contact rule, which must never be disobeyed, and she also yells and screams when things do not go her way. Kevin Corrigan and I became buddies while he was staying in my city where I was involved in a lot of film events. Meaning, we started chatting at an industry party, and for the next few weeks after that, anytime he'd walk into an event or social gathering, I'd see him looking around uncomfortably and he'd see me and do a beeline like I was his social safety net. Really nice guy, very shy, a little eccentric, but I really enjoyed talking with him. My mom's friend did security for concerts. She always told us about how nice the bands were, but Adele was a nightmare. Her fans started to line up before her concert outside of the stadium and Adele refused to do sound check because she didn't want anyone to hear her for free and you couldn't look at her when she spoke to you. AC/DC was the nicest band she encountered, and the Foo Fighters. When I was in high school, we put on a play for the whole school. I guess this kinda counts. The main character, we'll call her Ava, was walking around, asking the stagehands for a pink lemonade and some food. When we said for her to get it herself, she would break down and start having a temper tantrum and threatening to call her dad on us. I don't think she realized that we actually didn't care for her at all. She was a pretty good actor though. One time Adam from Adam Ruins Everything and I arrived at a Halloween party at the same time. I was wearing an _awesome_ hot dog costume and that motherfricker made eye contact with me and didn't react in the slightest, and I'll hate him forever for it. Just to make this clear, I am not cool enough to get invited to media star parties, but my wife is an animator and occasionally her friend circles intersect with celebrities. Back in my days of doing background work, I specifically remember on the set of Bones where they had very specific rules about not looking David Boreanaz in the eye and to keep a distance from him. You would hear stories about extras who would just walk by him, look up and smile, and then they would immediately get fired and sent home. No other set I worked on had that strict rules about their lead talent. James Caan. Poor guy is probably going senile. Can't remember his lines for the life of him. Shows up to set late. Obviously have never read the script because he questions everything. I personally feel bad for the supporting actors that have to deal with him. The other actors that are probably like, oh no fricking way I get to work with James Caan, and then find out he is a pain to work with and can't be bothered to even read the script. Thanks for watching this auto-generated video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I upload videos like this one daily. I put a lot of time into developing this video generator, but if there have been errors, please tell me in the comments below. Also leave me a link to another thread you would like to see a video about. Have a great day, Alex.